Your favorite artists. New music discovery. Candid conversations, unfiltered. Loudmouth, little lady, lots of music history. Broadcasting live from New Jersey, it's the Carr Stereo Podcast with Terrie Carr.
So I am so excited to have Kristyn Hope from Daedric with me because you are one of those inspirational women that I have been talking about and even writing about recently that is taking control of your career. It's your vision, it's what you want, and you're making it happen. Now, we're from two different generations. I was not always allowed to do that. I always had to march to the beat of somebody else's drummer so I could get my foot in the door. But you gals now are beating the drum for yourselves, and my hat goes off to you for that. So thank you so much for, number one, joining me on the Carr Stereo podcast, and number two, just being somebody who is a woman in control of herself. I love that.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me on your show. And second of all, yes, I love being able to do this, and I love being able to do it my way. It feels so freeing and just awesome to be in control. And even though we are on a record label, they do allow me to control everything from even the ads. Like, I get to make my own ads, I get to make my own website, I get to do everything and make it my way and feel authentic to me. And I think that's so important when you're an artist like we are, is that we want to reach the people and be direct with them and be honest and say, this is how I want you to find my music and find me and connect with me. And I think that's such a beautiful, and even though it's difficult, it's just like such a better way to do it.
It is. Visionary and executioner at the same time. That's what it's all about. Not always easy, because people want to pop you up and they give you the brass ring and they're telling you, you got to do this. And I think sometimes too, we often think, well, that person must know more than me. And even though your gut might be telling you something else, it's really nice to be able to trust your instincts. And I think you're such a unique artist. And I don't ever try to box people into like, oh, there's this new breed of new metal or alternative metal, or everybody is doing something different. The one common thread is that it is metal because it's loud and it's aggro, but you've kind of taken this to a whole different vibe, because anybody that I talk to that's gaming, or they all know who you are, because you're kind of the queen of all of this. You know, Daedric has been inspired. I'll say inspired by the Elder Scrolls, the series of action playing video games, which is a very free form kind of gaming kind of life. And this has been something that you've done. How does one thing lead to another thing? You're a Texas girl, correct?
I am, yes.
And then the Texas girl becomes like this gaming metal queen. Like, it's not anything that anybody could really write.
No, it's so true. I often think back on my life and I'm like, wow, how did I get here? It's such a weird like path to take, because for me, it's not just the Texas and the gaming thing. I was a super shy person. I didn't even speak growing up. And a lot of my teenage years, I was just so heads down. I was always a visual artist first. And so going into this space, it's such a flip. I'm having to be loud. I'm having to present myself. I'm having to talk on these kinds of shows and tell people who I am with my own words, rather than sitting in the background and waiting for people to find me. And I think that's what's made me love this so much. Is I'm not a traditional metalhead. I didn't grow up with metal, and I don't know a lot of the history. I'm catching up because I think it's important. But a lot of my background is things like classical music. It's Whitney Houston. It's old, 80s songs that don't necessarily fit into what I'm doing now, but they do influence me still. And things like loving visual art and going to school for art and studying art history, all those things come together and have made me who I am. And all of those things filter into what I'm doing with Daedric. Everything I've studied, everything I've learned and just soaked in is all important to me. So it's not just this wedge of, oh, Skyrim metal and from Texas. It's like all of these things are coming together and becoming part of it. So Skyrim is a huge part of it, but also my own life experiences, my own traumatic experiences, my relationships, my loss, my love, all those things come together and make Daedric what it is. And I think that's allowed me the freedom and the space to just create and not worry about, is this metal or not? Like, who cares? If it's not metal, don't listen to it. If it's metal, you love it, okay, great. And I think just being true to who I am and not being afraid to explore all the dynamics of what that means is what Daedric is.
Every time an amazing metal person tells me that they're inspired by classical, I think the best metal people have been so inspired by classical music because it's so metal. It's just so metal. It can be frightening at times, and it's big and it's grand and it's loud and it's in your face and it's passionate, and it is, I think, the original heavy metal. So you saying that does not surprise me at all. I'm just circling back to like all of these amazing videos that you've done and the visual. Well, the new record is out today, by the way. So
Yes.
let's talk about it. It is your second record. It's called As the Light Left. That title, what does that title mean? That title definitely seems to have a big meaning. When I was reading those, simple words, I'm like, there's something big behind this.
Yes, yes. It's now like I'm truly living this album, and there's so many facets into which that the name itself fits. It's things like the loss of hope. I've struggled with depression in my life, and feeling that light leaving. It's like you're grasping at it and you want it to stay, but nothing in you can keep it. And there's just, I don't know, it's so hard to like pinpoint everything down, but there's this feeling of the loss of sanity. As I was going through this album, I kept having all these mental breakdowns all the time, and it was just excruciating to go through this album, and I felt like it would never end. And there was so much I was dealing with from my own past traumas, like I mentioned, and to things I was dealing with at the time, and everything was just converging, and I was making these huge sweeping life choices that have flipped my life upside down. And it's made this album mean so much more to me every time something new has happened. And when I say I'm living this album, I'm truly living this album. And it is hard, and I don't always love it, but I feel as an artist it makes it more beautiful when you listen back to your own songs and you look at your lyrics and like, wow, I actually wrote this for me. And I wrote, my past me wrote this for future me as well as for younger me, to be that person that I needed when I was growing up, and also to be the person that I need now.
It's like the art within the art,
Yeah.
within the art, within the art. There's a million window
Yeah.
boxes open here. And you've been consistently releasing music leading up to this record. I mean, we've gotten, I guess, like something every month, pretty much,
Basically.
right?
Yeah.
Like we did like a June, July, May. I think,
Mhm.
did you start in May? I think
Yeah.
started in May with Night Mother. That came out in May. And I watched that video and I was like, whoa. But here's what I love. So I'm going through each song, and just when I think I'm like, oh yeah, I kind of know what the next one is going to sound like, you keep throwing these curveballs, you keep throwing these surprises, and I that's what really kind of drew me in. And I thought, wow, this is real authenticity, and this is a really, really artistic, amazing project. So yeah, did you release them in a sequence to keep throwing those surprises at fans and would-be fans like me that were just kind of getting familiar with what you've done?
Yeah, I would say it wouldn't have mattered what order we released them because every song is completely different. I think,
Completely different, completely different. That's the thing that floors you about this record.
yeah, and I don't feel sorry for that at all because I do feel that I can never just settle down with a certain sound or a certain exact, formula of song. That's just not who I am, and I don't think I would be happy to do that. And so I've loved being able to curate this record, and even the sequence that you'll listen to if you listen to the album from top to bottom, it has a story to tell, and it goes through all of this crazy range of emotions from rage and anger to sorrow to callousness, all the way down to regret. And it's like a roller coaster of emotion. And it's very indicative of how I felt both writing the album and just throughout my life, all the things that I've been through and the things that I'm currently going through. that are just so raw and so real. And I've loved being able to be so honest with this record.
Sequencing is so important too.
Yeah.
It's such an underrated thing. You know, I just think it's so important. When you said it's a top to bottom, takes you on that journey, takes you on that ride, tells you a story. Love that. So talk to me about your band members and
Yes.
who, because I think it's going to be a little, is it going to be a little bit different on this record? Is it going to be a little more Daedric as part of the unit?
Yes. So before with Mortal, it was essentially just us three, kind of in the studio. And then as we built out our live sound and brought in people into the mix, at first we thought, they'll just kind of stay over there and live over there. They'll play the music. That's great. But they are also amazing musicians. They're amazing people. They have their own stories to tell. And they are so interested in being integrated into this. And so we found with this album, we brought them more into the mix. Specifically, Dylan, the guitar, our live guitarist, he did a lot of the tracking. He did a lot of the writing. He actually wrote the song that came out today, "The Other Terror," was all him. He wrote a good portion of Sand Tiger. He wrote Dreamweaver. That he has that technical North Lane kind of era vibe, and it brought in something new and fresh to this album, something very exciting and energetic. And then Trevor, our drummer, also tracked some drums. He wrote some drums. He edited stuff, and bringing all of their voices into this record has made it so much more smooth as we go into the live, because they're not just having to learn parts, they're
Yeah.
making it their own.
Yeah.
And I've loved having that, because at first I was resistant to a band, being part of it, because I was like, oh no, people are going to have too much to say. It's going to be too much push and pull, and it's not going to be cohesive. But it's just been so natural with all of them. And I've loved working with them both in the studio and on the road. They're just fantastic human beings, and I'm so proud of how this is turning out. And I just know as we move into the next record, it's going to grow even more
You've
together.
got the right people.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing. You know, you can't do it without the right people, and you can't do it without your instincts telling you that these are the right people. And sometimes that doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah.
It
Absolutely.
takes, it takes that movement. It takes moving. So let's talk about your voice. Wow. I mean, the clean is so beautiful. It's magnificent and it moves your soul. And then you've got the scream and then you've got the growl. And I think I read a while ago when I was just learning about who you are that you were afraid to find that scream slash growl, because the scream and the growl are different. They're not exactly the same thing, for fear of damaging your voice. And I'm so in awe whenever I talk to anyone in metal, but especially women in metal. What is the deal with that instrument? Because your growls are so fierce and guttural and wild that I'm just like, how is that coming out of her? Look at her. She's so cute. And like, how is this coming out? Where is this coming from? So, how did you start training, first of all, to be able to do that? When did you realize that this is kind of the artist that you are? You said you're a very quiet girl with your head down growing up and everything. So, how does that girl become, the guttural maven that you are on these songs?
Yeah, I think from the outside, it seems like such a jarring thing. I've even had people from my childhood reach out to me and be like, "Where was this? You didn't even talk."
Who
And,
are you?
let alone sing. And I've always loved singing. It was kind of a secret passion of mine. I would do
Because you're a great
karaoke.
singer. You have the most beautiful voice. You could go and do a Broadway show or, sing at Disney or something. Like you've got that beautiful feeling of your voice. And then this comes out and it's holy shit. Where did this come from?
Well, thank you. I've come to realize that for me, it's all about emotion. It's about expression. And it's not so much about like what kind of vocalist do I want to be. I just want to be able to do it all and do it with feeling and truly like if I'm going to write a part like that, I want it to be honest and just authentic to the song. And so when that kind of clicked for me, I thought, okay, I do want to learn screaming. Yes, I'm scared. And it wasn't until COVID that I felt like it was a great time to take a chance, because I'm like, if I damage my voice, I have time to recover. I can, fix whatever happens. So I actually reached out to Cheney Crab from Entheos, and she was doing lessons at the time. And so we did a couple lessons, and a lot of it I realized as she was talking to me was it was all about confidence. It was about just trying and not being afraid to.
She's got it. She's,
Mhm.
oh my gosh, what a
Yeah.
great. So you just hit her up. You were just like, let me just reach. Did you know her already or did you just hit her up?
So this was right before Spirit Box blew up. Ironically, I actually hit up Courtney because we had been chatting for a bit. And I was like, hey, do you do lessons? I just really want to learn. And she was like, no, I don't. But you know what? My friend Cheney does. So she introduced me to Cheney. And then I reached out to her and then we got connected. And it was really cool. And from there, and Theos obviously blew up too. And so they got kind of busy. So then that was all cool because then I dived into doing covers and just learning how to imitate sounds that I was hearing from artists that I really loved. And it was a lot of just listening and hearing things and then recording myself, listening back and saying, is this right? Does this feel right? Not only does it physically feel safe, but is the sound the kind of sound that I want to make, that I would be proud to record? So it was a lot of trial and error, a lot of experimentation. I did lose my voice a couple times, but as I kind of caught on and realized what was going to be mine, it was just a matter of building it up and finding, fine tuning everything about it. And now I feel like I'm free to explore different sounds and try new sounds that I hear when I hear a new vocalist that does something cool and they have a cool tone. I'm like, that's cool. I want to learn that, and I take some time to do those things because to me, the vocals are really an instrument and it's also an art form. And if you can think of it that way, it's not like, oh, I'm just a clean vocalist or I'm just a harsh vocalist or I'm just this type of screamer. I want to be able to have all the tools under my belt so that way I can utilize it to make the song the way that I envision it.
Yeah, yeah. Treating that instrument like an instrument, like a muscle, and it's almost like a separate part of you in a way, you know?
Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
just spoke to a vocalist not long ago, and he was telling me, he's like, yeah, the vocalist is always almost like the pregnant woman on the tour because you've got to take care of yourself more than the guitar player would or more than the drummer would. There's just no faking it. I mean, you just can't, say I've
Yes.
got a headache, but I'm just going to be behind the drum kit and I'm just going to get through it. I mean, that
Hmm.
doesn't work, and especially for an artist like you. There are 11 tracks, by the way, on the new record.
Yeah.
11. That's a big haul, man. That is a big, juicy, chunky haul. So how do you decide when you're going out live? What are you going to play? You've got two records now. You got a lot of stuff to choose from. Are there songs that people are going to be pissed if you don't play and we've absolutely got to get these? I think this record is going to be one of those records where I think it's going to be hard to pick and choose what you're going to put in a set.
Absolutely. So for the tour with Vola, we did a mixture of both albums and we even played stuff that wasn't out yet. And, people loved it and they were like, what's this song? And I'm like, it's not even out yet, but here you go. And I actually love having the guys curate the set list because I want them to have fun on stage. And I like that they are so passionate about making this live show like flow a certain way, especially Dylan. And he just has this knack for it. So I love that he's excited about it. I have a little bit of input, but mostly I just love letting him do his thing because he curates this nice flow of like we start out hard and then we kind of dive down for a second. Maybe they leave the stage or maybe I leave the stage and then it's kind of this like almost like a musical theater rather
Yeah.
than being
Yeah.
like just ham-fisted show of like song after song. We build in, segues and little things to help the show keep flowing. And I love that they can take over that and that they love doing it. And it's not just
That's
me being like,
fantastic.
we are going to do these 10 songs.
Metal musical theater. That's what it feels like. That's
It
totally
is.
what it feels like. Talk to me about being the visionary for the videos too. Visually stunning. You are incredible. You command each piece in a unique way. Are you the sole visionary for those videos? Because it's very much you, and what's coming out of you is definitely authentic and not something that can be faked. Is that something that you envision going in? Do you see how it flows? Is there a director that's a big part of everything? Talk to me about that because it's a big part of who the band is, who you are, and what you guys do.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say it does start with me. I worked for 5 years as a creative director, so that was kind of my job was branding and starting from the bottom of what's the mission and how do we accomplish it and visually how do we represent that. So a lot of the album branding starts with me creating this brand board where I have here's the logo, here's the colors, here's the styling of everything, here's the mission of this album. And then as we go forward, I bring in partners. Like we have a director that we work with exclusively, Michael Levine. He does all of our videos. And then I have a photographer that I've been working with since the very beginning of Daedric, Kate Voskova. She is my photographer. I basically only want to work with her. I mean, I'm willing to work with anyone, but she is my girl. I love
She's
her
your
so
girl.
much.
I get
She
it.
gets me.
Yeah.
She gets me, and I love her. And
Gets
she's
you. Yep.
fantastic. And same with Michael. He gets it, and he allows me to co-direct a lot of times. He'll bring me behind the camera and be like, "Do you like the shot? Is the framing good? The lighting? Is this what you were thinking?" And that's what I've loved about partnering with these people. Is it's not just me being like, "Make me a video." It's me saying, "Hey, here's the vision. Here's the storyboard," and then also bringing in their vision because they have a lot to contribute. They're artists as well.
Yeah.
And
Videos and photographs capture a moment. People
yes.
forget that because we're always doing this.
Mhm.
Everything is with the phone, and people are like, oh no, I can just do it with my phone. No, you're not going to do it the same way that a photographer that knows the vision of someone is going to capture something. Same
Yes.
thing with a video. You're capturing a moment in time.
Mhm.
And I think we forget to live those moments in time these days because everything is done with a freaking cell phone.
Yes. I agree.
So, when you're saying that she's your photographer, and I get it, I completely get it. So, yeah. And the visual is a
Mhm.
big part of not just what you do, but of the genre. Music is very visual, but especially of a heavy sounding music, there is that visual that has got to be captured
Absolutely.
properly.
Yeah. And what was cool about this record is I spent an exorbitant amount of time writing lore for it because it wasn't just Skyrim lore and then I'm just, putting it into a song. It was building that lore into my own experiences and combining them into something cohesive and something that meant something to me and building these characters and building this arc. And it was so much effort to write all of that and make it make sense. And it came into the album and became such an integral part of it. And I think it's helped with the cohesiveness as the story continues. And as we built upon each video, each, set of photos, it was capturing the essence of each of those songs. And then even the lyric videos, that was something I kind of did. It wasn't an accident exactly, but for Mortal, I did a lyric video for Alchemy that was a silhouette because I did not have the budget for a full music video, but I wanted to do something cool and I know how to edit and shoot myself. So I thought for this album, I want to do all of my lyric videos like that because it allowed me to perform the song still, but in a way that was just artistic. And then the highlight is, the lyrics coming in, but then you get to see the emotion as well because I
Yeah.
didn't want to have lyrics on the screen. I wanted people to still connect with it.
Yeah. Your YouTube channel, by the way, if you're just getting familiar with Daedric and you're listening or watching this, please subscribe to the YouTube channel because there's so much. Your shorts are great and they're funny and cool, and people can really get a feel for who you are as a person, which is definitely a little bit different than who you are as an artist. And there's just so many layers. Well, let's talk about this fan base because
Yeah.
the fan base. You're so in their wheelhouse and they feel like they're in your head and you're in their head. And that's a tough thing to get, and to get their loyalty like that. And I think that you've got them, and the more you draw in, they're never going to leave you. So what is it like to have such a loyal, incredibly loyal fan base as you do, as the band does?
I would say it wasn't even something that I thought of as fans. It was more of me trying to find a community of
That's what it
people,
is. Yep. Yep.
people that are like-minded that also deal with things that I deal with because obviously we share this love for fantasy and gaming and Skyrim specifically, but it's more than that. It's I grew up as the shy, weird nerd kid that I didn't have a lot of friends, but the few I did I really loved, but no one really got me. I was always just kind of on the outside. And I knew going into this that there's so many people out there that had the same experience as me that, we weren't exactly outcasts, but we weren't exactly in with anyone. But we had this shared love of fantasy, of, dragons and metal and all these things that come together. And it's not just been that, it's been people that love to work out too, because I love to work out, and our fast-paced music somehow just found its way to these people that love to work out. And there's all different like niches of community, but especially in our Discord server, it's been people that have needed a space like this to talk openly about their feelings, about things they're struggling with, about just nerding out on games and other things. And not everything is always talking about Daedric. It's just finding people who are like you, who accept you.
Yeah.
And that's just been such a beautiful thing. And I've loved, watching all of them connect and become friends on their own. And it's just something that it makes me feel like I'm like this mother and like these are my
You
kids.
are. It
Yeah.
literally is like you're like almost in this like metal fantasy land where everybody's just kind of around you. And yet you've brought them all together. When you read the comments, you can see all of these people. And the comments I love on your page too, um, on your socials and everything, are just a lot of positivity.
Yeah.
Which you don't always see, because somebody will post something and then you got the trolls, or you should have done this, or why do you do that, or it doesn't sound like this. But your page seems to be very different. It is really a sense of community, and there's a lot of positivity. So that's why I like trolling your page, because then I can see what everybody else is doing and it makes you feel good. And you're like, this is definitely a super cool, incredible fan base. So what do you do like on release day? Like how does it feel that your baby is coming out? Here comes the baby. Baby's being born.
It is such a bittersweet day every day. I'm both excited because I love having my music out there and I love sharing it with people, and I love, seeing the reactions, and whether it's positive or negative, it doesn't matter. They're engaging with it and they're consuming it. And it is such a bittersweet thing because there's that side, and then there's part of me that almost mourns it. Like it was only mine just for a little bit, and now I'm sharing.
Now it's everybody else's. Yep.
Yeah. And so it's like, I love sharing it, but also it's like, this was a page of my diary and you're reading it and you're maybe judging it even, which is fine. But at the same time, it's like, man, like that was my heart and soul, and I'm putting it out for you to consume. And so it's not like I don't get depressed exactly, but I definitely have some kind of mourning period.
Yeah. A little chunk of loss.
Yeah.
I can completely understand that. There's a little chunk of you that was only you. That's not only you anymore. It's missing a little bit. Like I said, the baby is born and the baby's going off to school, and, you're there at the bus going, wait, the baby's going off to school. So I can understand that. It's definitely a sense of elation, but it's a little bit of a sense of loss as well.
Yeah. But it what makes it worth it is hearing from people that really needed to hear it. The people that say,
I've been waiting for the baby. Yeah.
Yeah. And they were like, you put into words the feeling that I didn't know I had. And, even people coming up to me during shows and saying, your music saved me, or your music impacted me so much. And they tell me their life stories, things they've struggled with. It makes it all worth it. Because if I can just help one person, I feel like I've done something good. And that's meant more to me than any kind of, fame or accolades or whatever it is. It's helping people and doing it in a way that's real for me, that I can just be me and do things I love, and it's making this positive impact on other people in the world, because that's all you can really ask for at the end of the day. At the end of your life, when you're on your final deathbed and you're saying, what did I do with my life? And if you can say, I've helped people, I think that's good enough.
Kristyn Hope, wow, this has been so much fun. I'm so happy that we got to meet, and we got to get just a little bit of a vibe, for our first conversation about everything that you guys have been doing, the evolution of the band, and of course, this amazing new record, As the Light Left, which I think it's going to be 2026, a massive year for the band. I think there's going to be endless opportunities, and best of luck with everything. And thank you so much for taking some time with me.
Thank you so much for having me.
Kristyn from Daedric. Authenticity, my friends, cannot be faked. No way.
Don't forget to like this podcast and subscribe to the Carr Stereo page on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Rob Moorhead. GC and I will see you next time.